Hey folks, this is Lindsey Huddleston back in the building with Sports Psychology Solutions at the SPS Game of the Week, East Lansing versus Waverly at East Lansing High School. But before we talk about that, let me talk about the great guest I have sitting with me, Mr. Jodie Clemons, my guy.
All right, now.
Putting it down. And we're here to have a mental health moment. As you guys know, with my travels and my work with sports psychology consulting, I've always talked about mental toughness. But Jodie, as you and I know and you and I talk, now we're finding the need to make more of the conversation about mental health.
Yes.
You've had an outstanding career, probably one of the most humble guys I know. He can walk around and say all the things he's done, all the things he's accomplished, all the people he's helped. He doesn't go about it. He just does his work. But we know you've had some wonderful experiences from being an outstanding player in high school, collegiate player, having a pro experience, having relationships with all these guys. I mean, we can say that. Yeah. So just want to get your feedback and thoughts. What's been troubling you lately as far as the state of affairs of athletes, mental health, and just what's going on in the headlines?
I would say, like, the biggest thing would be, especially guys who have had tremendous success, it would be when that moment is over, when it's done, when you're done playing and you're out of the spotlight. How do you adjust to being just a regular citizen and live your day-to-day life and your day-to-day duties and activities, or if you're working, if you on your job, or if you had success and you played at the next level professionally, or you didn't make it professionally? How do we adjust? Because there's nobody that has that outlet right now, and so over my time period, myself, I'm just going off my own personal experiences, because I know I had an opportunity to play pro ball, and I got hurt. And when I got hurt, I became depressed because I didn't make it. It was because there were so many things that I wanted to do with that opportunity.
That platform.
And
that bread, too.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that platform comes, obviously, the money, and, you can start businesses, help your friends out, help your family out, different things.
Notoriety, doors open a little easier.
Oh, yeah.
You can move around a little bit smoother.
No doubt about it. And so, for me, I really became depressed because it was over at the snap of a finger. In mini camp, I just tore it, and I knew I tore it, and for me to sit on that turf and reflect at that time how I was feeling, it was horrible. And then a process over the next 3 or 4 months of, okay, what am I going to do now? What's next? This was plan A. Obviously, I have an education, but at the same token, this is really what I wanted to do.
Because the tough thing about that, you said so many important things, is when you're a hard-working student athlete, you're supposed to expect that you're going to make it there.
Yeah,
you don't go in with a plan B, because Jimmy King of the 5-5 once told me that you're supposed to think you're going to be the best, and you almost have to think that way to be successful.
Absolutely.
So you were doing all those things, but then, boom, something happens.
Right.
And the other part I'll ask, how do you think it would have worked if someone along the way would have been telling you, well, you may not make it, or something may happen? Would you have been receptive to that conversation?
I mean, I've always been receptive to pretty much anything throughout life.
Sure.
If I feel like it can help me in a positive outlook, or even a negative outlook.
Sure.
Because sometimes you need that motivation in life. If somebody tells you, well, you can't make it, or you won't make it, or the chances of, sometimes you're like, well, what do you mean? I'm not gonna make it. So at the same token, I definitely would have been receptive to that.
What do you think the conversation? Because you and I compliment many of the younger coaches around. I will consider you part of that category, because you know enough that you've learned from old school, and you're definitely connected with new school. You hip, even though you're rocking the retro ponies, man. Oh, you're killing them with those, right? So what do you think, Jodie? What's the formula now for connecting with this generation of not just athletes, but this generation of young people to be able to connect with that on a mental health standpoint?
Well, I wouldn't say it varies by generation to me.
Okay.
Because I've had tons of coaches throughout my career, and the ones that I can remember that mean the most to me were the ones that taught me lessons outside of the game. So no matter what generation or what era you come from, the coaches that to me, influence you as a person, shape your character, are the ones that stick out in your mind. The ones who are more so, like, for instance, in college, my freshman year, I had a defensive line coach, and I mean, it's my first time away from home. I've never been away from home, and every time I would go in his office, it was always about football. Well, we got to, you got to get bigger, you got to get stronger. Sure, you got to do this. I'm like, well, it's my first time away from home. I'm bigger than just a football player. Right. I mean, I do have, a personality. You know, and then when I got another position coach, and he took the time to, hey, well, how's your day? How's your day going? How you doing in school? What's going on with your family? And so those people like that,
how'd you respond to that?
And to me, it made me play harder for him, because I felt like he cared for me as an individual more than just this number.
Him just asking you about your day, about your family, encourage you to him to play harder for him.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's no different. Like, I remember the life lessons that all the way back from high school with Coach Major, when we were at Sexton, and he would always say, hey, when you get married, marry somebody smarter than you. Just little things like that. Or we leave practice and he drive us to nice neighborhoods with big houses. Like, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to inspire to be. This is how you want to live. And just those little lessons like that, those are valuable. It's valuable for these kids. Then, of course, you got to have, I always say, you have to have a staff that's well balanced. You got to have your X's and O's person, a person who's good at that or great at that. Okay. Then you got to have that pit bull. Yeah. The one that's going to get the kids going when practice is looking bad.
As I think back, those are the coaches I remember.
Exactly.
Not taking anything away from people to bring that.
Exactly.
So why do you think coaches fail in having that diversity in their staff or making those type of connections?
Well, for one, I wouldn't say fail. It's just they don't have the right, maybe they don't have the right circle, or maybe that individual who should be coaching isn't coaching. There's a lot of people out here with great knowledge of the game. I get on people all the time that tell me at my age that I should still be coaching, which I'm like, hey, man, I did 15. Yeah. What you talking about?
Supposed to do?
I'm not even 40 yet. I did 15 in this game. Right. I did 15 in football. I did 5 in basketball. So why are you telling me? What about you? You younger than me. Yeah. You the next wave.
Right. And then what they say, man, I can't deal with them kids.
Exactly. Nah. Like my one of my defensive coaches used to say, no, come and jump in the honey pot.
Yeah, come on, get some of this.
Come get some.
While we're on that note, talking about not just mental toughness, but mental health, I want to share some resources, and they're going to come up on the screen, Jodie. I think this is great. You have the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Right. And I think more of our generation, we were accustomed to picking up the phone. That number is 1-800-273-8255. But also, there's a crisis text line, Jodie, where you can text on your phone, and you're going to be able to communicate with someone via text. And the reason that stands out to me, because that's so within the natural course of how we do things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that number is, you can just text 741-741. I have it locked in my phone. I want to just share it to people because on the humble, someone can look and do that. And we'll talk about some other things too. And I also want to thank Corbin Stanley. He's a PhD student at Michigan State, but he's also chairman of the board of directors for the Michigan chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And that website is www.afsp.org. And you can reach that number as well with the 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-273-TALK. And I think that's important. Jodie, one of the goals we have is not just to get our guys ready, like you get all those guys ready in the off season, whatever, whatnot. You get them ready physically. Right. You're always good with giving them the mental toughness that they need, but this mental health is huge. And so what can you say to someone who's aspiring to be a great athlete, that's going to have a great shot to be a D1 athlete, potentially a collegiate star, potentially a pro player, but whether you get injured or it stops abruptly, eventually it stops. So what advice can you give them now in preparing for that?
As I always tell every kid, it goes quick. It goes fast.
I mean, I can't live this forever. It won't just...
Can't do it forever. Like, in your lifespan, okay? So say you live to be 70, 80 years old, okay? If this is that 80-year spectrum, this amount is going to be the athletic side of it.
Wow.
All right?
Wow.
That's it. That's all you have. That's the smallest window you have.
And you can't argue that. That is a fact.
It's a 100% fact. Whether your body won't allow you to do it no more, or you mentally just don't want to do it,
or something freakish happens where you look up and something happens.
100%.
Like that.
For me, when I got hurt, and then my body recovered, and mentally, I said, I don't want to do it no more.
I don't have it in me no more.
I don't want to do what it takes to be number one anymore.
Okay, and I want to dissect that because I think some people may miss that. Oh, Jodie don't want to be number one. You said no.
Right.
I don't want to do what it takes.
Exactly. I don't want to get up and lift.
So you're saying your natural ability won't get you to number one. Exactly. There's other things you got to do.
Absolutely, 100%. So when you're in that weight room and doing those extra reps or running or whatever it may be, I didn't want to do it no more.
Right. Right.
You know, I just didn't. It's just like, man, this is a grind. And so for me, walking away led to some depression early. And then it took my mom to like kind of kickstart me like, come on now. Yeah. You know. And then
it's
from
tough
there,
because you're a big bad athlete. Yeah. You're not supposed to get
we ain't supposed to show emotion. I'm taught to destroy you. So when you have that mentality as a football player, especially as a football player or a boxer, I'm trying to destroy you. That's what I've been programmed to do.
Right.
And so for you to flip to the other side and say, man, now I got to live life. I can't walk around here just beating people up.
You got to better make that transition.
Yeah, and a lot of guys can't make that transition.
Right. And maybe that'll be what we'll pick up on next, because you guys can hear we're getting ready to get started here. East Lansing versus Waverly. Got the Jodie Clemons, also known for his stone cold grooves that he put on. Puts a nice professional soiree together. That's also, I think, good for mental health too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Real talk.
100%.
I think that falls into being able to be in an environment where you can socialize with other adults and be positive. So that's another way to add it to. But this won't be the last time you see Jodie. You saw Jodie with myself along with Keith Tate, who's going to be coaching tonight on our Coach's Culture podcast. But as we continue with the mental health moment, we'll continue to bring Jodie another great resource. Anything you want to share before we sign off, Jodie?
Just thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the conversations that we always have. And iron sharpens iron. That's what I always tell people. So when I run into an individual like yourself and we talk, it's always, you know, it's supposed to be short, but we end up talking for an hour, you know what I mean? And just kicking in and just...
And to that point, iron sharpens iron when I be messing with Jodie in the post, too. Because I mess around and get down there and I sneak one in on him. He said, okay. I mean, I done messed up because now he coming back at me.
Oh, yeah,
that's it. I think I'm officially retired, so I'll only cheer from the sideline.
No doubt, no
Jodie,
doubt.
keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate you. We'll get you back.
Okay? Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. We're signing off.